This is the hole that I've cut in the mothership to allow me to put the batteries, receiver, speed controller, and so forth in. So this has just been cut down inside the wing. The battery configuration is designed to be a couple of 4S batteries, or a single 4S battery, giving about 4,000 milliamp hours capacity. As you can see, I've got plenty of room now for the two 4S batteries and the speed controller. This is a picture of the speed controller. It can't be installed as yet because it's got to be modified. The wires are not going to be long enough to get to the motor. So that's big enough to go in there, plus plenty of room for the receiver. The tools I use to make the cutout is a Ryobi laminate router, and I just have a wood router bit located inside. This was just run back and forth a little bit at a time. I didn't take the full depth at once, but I changed it a little bit at a time until I made the depth, and I used a fairly small diameter so I could get into the corners. I finished out the corners with a knife. I used a piece of aluminum bar stock as an additional support for the router as I went back and forth across the width of the wing. So this allowed me to cut the center parts and not have to worry about getting too deep. I also used a Dremel Multimax tool with a wood and metal blade. This also helped me straighten up the sides of the hole and also to level out the bottom of the hole. I wanted to have something inside the hole to provide some additional support in there, and also make something where I could use Velcro to hold batteries in and so forth. So what I did is I cut a piece of Lexan. I just simply took it, cut corners, and then put these into a vise and just bent them up. So this is going to be glued down on the inside of the hole. This is the Lexan box that I manufactured, and it's down inside the hole now. This will be put in with some 3M 77 glue. The other issue was, what was I going to use for a lid or a hatch? And I studied on this and considered several options. I wanted something fairly low profile with that wasn't going to create a lot of wind resistance as I put it in there. This is the hatch piece that I'm going to use. It has some air holes in the front, basically air scoops that'll let air come in. The round holes at the top will allow some air to exit. The back of the hatch is open, so there's an exit airflow in the back. So we'll have plenty of exit air hole, and that'll help keep the speed controller and the batteries cool as we're flying through there, because air will be inducted through the holes in the front and be able to allow to circulate, and then there's plenty of exit room in the back. This is going to be attached after the covering is done on the front leading edge with strapping tape, and the strapping tape will hold the front down and will be a hinge as well. Then I'll either use some Velcro or some rare earth magnets to hold the back end down. The hatch is a component that I ordered from Trick RC. It's a standard hatch that's used on one of their flying wings, and I was looking for something that would work. I don't have any ability to do any vacuum forming or anything, and this one is just really the right size and has the features that I need, so that's what I'm going to use. This is another hatch that I ordered from Trick RC to consider. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to be the best fit, and here's another one. And they just come vacuum formed, and then you trim the sides off. Like this one has the sides, you just trim around there, and that's what I've done on this one. I did leave a little extra flashing. You can see on the part itself where the original trim lines were, but I'm not going to trim that. I need to have the hatch a little bit bigger, So I'm going to leave those flarings around the side of the extra edge width on the sides and just use that as part of it. Anyway, I wasn't sure exactly which one of these was going to fit the best, so I ordered 3 of them. If anybody's interested in these, they're about $6 each, plus whatever shipping. And this looks like it's going to be a great, and it's going to be very low profile. Alright, I've got the servo laid out on the left side of the wing, and I'm going to cut this out and put a recess in so that the servo is even with the top surface. What I've done is taken a silver Sharpie and marked around the servo, and you can see the line that I've marked that's perpendicular to the trailing edge. So this is where it's going to connect to the aileron in the back, and I've laid out the servo so that the output gear is on top of that line. So this should give me a straight line between the servo itself and where I want to make the connection point. Now you can see where the servo itself has been laid out, and I actually took a square and measured these lines right here and drew them perpendicular to the trailing edge so that they would be square. And this line, it will be the outside edge of where I'm going to open up the area, so I've got enough room back here for the room over here for the servo arm to actually move. And one last thing I'm going to check before I start cutting the hole in here is I'll make sure that I have enough back motion without hitting this this support here. So they'll probably move up just a shape. What I'm going to do to cut this, I'm going to take a Dremel Multimax, and I'm going to cut down 1/2 inch, which is the width of the servo, on the outline. That'll give me straight outlines. And then I'm going to take a trim router and set the depth on the trim router for 1/2 inch and route the hole out. So that's the plan. Alright, the servo cutout is complete, and you can tell that the output gear is in line. The hole is enlarged a little bit to make sure that there's enough room for the arm to travel forward and back. I will make a little bit more trimming so that it can move backwards just a little bit. The servo wire itself will travel along the edge of the carbon fiber support and run in there between the plywood support and the carbon fiber support over to the rear area of the box that I've got cut out. So that takes less than a minute to make the servo cutouts. This also is now flush, and I can use some covers, some servo covers for these if I want to do that. This is the second servo on the right side of the wing, and again I've cut out enough area in the arm area to allow plenty of swing on the arms. They don't have to travel very far, but I want to make sure that they're not restricted. The servo is flush enough that I can use a servo cover if I like. The servo wire is going to come up, travel along the carbon fiber tube, right between the plywood spar and up into the box. Okay, the covering has been done and the top hatch has been mounted. The whole top of it is orange, and the bottom is green and white. That's all the colors that I had, but it should give a really good distinction between the top and the bottom. Also, I put some shoulder straps on. I'm not going to mount the winglets until everything else is done. They just be in the way. The top hatch has been mounted. It's been put across the top with some strapping tape, and it just opens straight up. I have the plastic box on the inside is mounted, and everything's going to fit in there fine.